Hey guys, this is going to be a little bit of a different video than what I usually upload. This is actually going to be a review of a software called Dehancer. This company reached out to me about 30 days ago and they asked me to review their software. For complete transparency, there is nothing that is going to be regulated about this review. I'm not getting paid for this at all. I am just going to give you my honest insight. I was given the software to use in a trial period for these 30 days and I've really put it through its paces. I've shot motion almost every single day. So I hope that this review kind of helps you and kind of informs your decision whether or not you want to actually go ahead and purchase this. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you know what Dehancer is, but to kind of like break things down in the most simplistic way as I can, Dehancer is a plugin that's used to make your footage or photos look more quote-unquote filmic. This is a pretty popular technique that a lot of creators are doing right now, and it's something that I'm personally a huge fan of. Just really helps with speeding up the color editing process. So Dehancer allows you to interpret your modern footage from almost any single camera body. They have a variety of different camera body inputs that you can use, and it's all broken down in a pretty simplistic fashion. All you need to do is just select the camera that you're using as well as the color profile that you're using. So in my case, I use the FX3 for a vast majority of these projects, and then I shot an S-Log, so I just click S-Log on the program and it interprets the footage and it will make it look wonderful. So there are a ton of different quote-unquote emulations that you can use, and these all have certain looks. I find myself that I only use about 3 of them that I really like, but you can really just like use this to your advantage and really push the boundaries of what look you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to emulate a certain film stock, chances are they have it. So right off the bat with that, as soon as you apply the look that you want, you will notice that your footage will drastically change in color. And I'm not going to tell you that the footage will look perfect 100% of the time. A lot of the times, if not all of the times, I will have to go in and change some manual settings within the plugin itself. With that being said, Dehancer allows you to kind of change a couple things, such as like your temperature, and it allows you to change like kind of your contrast within the own software. I use this on a couple situations, and I personally found that if you make any color changes, it works best if you inside of the actual plugin itself, not using the regular Lumetri color wheels or using the Lumetri color panel. I found that that's a little bit inconsistent. My kind of workflow for this would be using one adjustment layer over all of my clips and finding like my quote-unquote hero shot, fixing that up to how I see fit, and then going back from there and cutting up the adjustment layer so I can modify each and every clip to kind of fit the actual color of the hero shot. All right, so I kind of mentioned before how this kind of speeds up the process of achieving a certain look. They have a lot of really cool built-in effects like bloom and halation, as well as grain, of course. And what I really like about Dehancer is that this is all modular, so you can turn off and on different effects for different projects. You're not just stuck with a single look. And there's a couple of situations where I found myself turning that on and off. For example, a brand that I shoot for doesn't like grain, so I straight up just turn that off as soon as I interpret the footage. I want to briefly talk about the halation of this plugin. I've been creating halation for quite some time, and I've been doing this manually from a method that I learned from Ezra Cohen, a super talented editor, and he kind of broke down a very detailed way of doing this, which is basically creating 3 different layers. I used to do this all the time and it slowed down my editing process a whole bunch, but with this, it's super easy to actually just create a halation effect with the simple click of a button. And I kind of want to talk about this because what this introduced was the idea of creating a mask mode, and I haven't seen this from other softwares. The mask mode really allows you to really see exactly what you're editing and see where the effect will actually be applied. I think that this is super powerful, and oftentimes I find myself using it just to check how much halation will actually be taking place. And another benefit that I found when using the software is that when I'm shooting with two different cameras, I'm able to get a pretty consistent look. I use the Sony FX3 and S-Log3 for 90% of my projects, except for one where I shot on the FX3 as well as the Sony a7R II, which shoots in S-Log2. These are two different cameras, and S-Log2 and S-Log3 are somewhat similar, but they're not entirely similar. And I think that the fact that I was able to almost perfectly color match between the two with just simply the click of a button is an absolute game changer. I think that that's an awesome feature. And I believe that Dehancer really did their kind of like due diligence of researching the different color profiles that come out of almost any single camera. All right, so now I'm gonna be kind of critical of Dehancer and kind of give a little bit of quote unquote drawbacks to the software. And don't get me wrong, I've seriously loved using the software, but I think that there is one major thing that I think that everyone should really talk about. So if you look over here, this is my editing computer. This is the Mac Studio with the Max chip in it, and this is what I use to edit all of my videos, personal and as well as work. So this thing can really keep up with any footage that comes out of the FX3, and it handles it super duper well. But Dehancer is a very, very heavy program. It has caused me to actually have to downscale my footage, and in some situations actually use proxies to edit. And I think that this is a pretty big drawback of actually using this software. So kind of take that for what it's worth. And I will say that Dehancer is running a 30-day trial period if you want to try the software out, just to see if your computer can actually handle the software itself. So another drawback of using this software is that they advertise that you can use what's called a LUT generator, which is built into the plugin itself. For me, that didn't work, and I really wish it did. I have a couple LUTs that I have loaded on my monitor that help me kind of gauge my exposure once I have color applied, but I would really, really like to be able to upload the look that I'm going for onto my external monitor, and just to have it match perfectly. That way I know exactly what I'm gonna get as I'm shooting it. And for me, this just didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. Adobe just threw like a random error at me. So I'm not really understanding what's going on with that. I reached out to the rep that I was talking to before, and they said that customer support will contact me, but I haven't been able to find a resolution to this. So that's just something to look out for. But like I said, I have a couple of LUTs loaded onto my monitor already that are pretty close to what I want out of my colored footage. So it hasn't really been the biggest drawback to me. So if you're watching this far into the video, I hope that this video helped. And thanks for watching. If you have any comments or any questions at all, feel free to leave any concerns or questions you might have in the comments below. I love answering questions, so if you have any that might come up, feel free to shoot me a comment and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. With that being said, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Going to be posting a lot more content on this as winter kind of approaches. I'm going to have more free time, which would be sick. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope that this helps.